Coming up on the Interludes podcast Summit 2026. It wasn't just another conference. It was a reminder why community matters. This year, I experienced the podcast summit as a VIP, a volunteer, and a business owner who has been intentionally building relationships long before I ever landed in Atlanta. Today, I'm going to share why I believe every podcaster should invest in community, how those relationships help shape my business, and why the connections you build may become more valuable than any content you can create. I'm Val the Voice Johnson, and it's a special edition of the Interludes podcast. The Interludes Podcast,
a Pure Lighthouse production.
This episode is brought to you by PureLighthouseMedia.com, home to the book, A DJ Saved My Life, where the ABCs of podcasting and the personal memoir come together perfectly. If you want to start your podcast journey, schedule a 15-minute call with me, research our podcasting blog tips. It's all on our fully remodeled website today.
And now, all the way from the south side of Chicago, give it up for your host, Val the Voice Johnson.
Welcome to another edition of the Interludes Podcast. I'm your host, Val the Voice Johnson, and I want to talk to you guys today about the word and the concept community. Now, I'm going to be real corny right now. I'm going to look online, look for the definition of what community is. And here we go. A community is a group of individuals linked by a shared geography, interests, values, or identity. That's your definition. And some of the key concepts: groups bonded by shared characteristics, professions, hobbies, or cultural backgrounds, and the feeling of connection and shared responsibility among a group of people. During 2020, because many of us, all of us, were forced to stay indoors, there was a app that got very popular over the start of the pandemic. It was called Clubhouse. It's still around. And I remember joining an online chamber of commerce. It's not in existence anymore. And they required you to get on Clubhouse, create a profile, all that stuff. What I learned in that is I was seeking community. I started or relaunched my business in 2020. I'd been doing freelance since 2012. I started Pure Lighthouse Media, as I've spoken to many of you, as far back as 2012. The business has been around for a minute. But I knew I needed people, not coworkers, but people in my life to keep me accountable for some of the either business goals or things that I needed to set for my life. And podcasting, when I started, I was grateful to step into podcasting and it be kind of the emotional balm after so much loss. Like in June of 2020, when this podcast started, was myself. I had someone helping me at the time, and Of course, we would talk about our frustrations and things that were happening, but I cleaned things up and I came on and spoke to people. When you guys hear the very first episode of the Interludes podcast, I give my full government name, Valerie Johnson. Val the Voice came later after I plugged in with this online Chamber of Commerce and plugged in with a couple of communities. I left that community, found one on Clubhouse, another one on Clubhouse, and, vibe with those guys as well. Even created my own show called The After Show. I was just listening to a couple of clips from that earlier today because I was trying to clear some things off of my iPad. And then I remember last year, 2025, I got on a webinar, and it was this young man named David Shands, and he was talking about joining an online community called the Morning Meetup. And he charged so much per month, or you could get it annual. And I was thinking, wait a minute, do I need to pay to be a part of a community? I'm so glad that I did. I'm so glad I got an opportunity to join. And as Dave and the business of the Morning Meetup evolved, and it was just one of the many multiple businesses that he has, he got with his other, I like to call it, his fun half of the business, which is Donnie Wiggins. And when I say fun, I mean she's business, and it's about getting the money. They have a podcast called Social Proof. I've watched it. I've giggled at it. I've loved hearing them kind of pick apart business ideas and then interview people with the same kind of vigor. And what's been fun is them coming together saying, you know what, we're going to do something totally different, but similar. And we're going to call it Social Proof. Social Proof, the Social Proof Circle, that's what it's called. And do you know now, when I look at my name inside of the app, it says that I'm a founding member. What a nice brand. And of course, I was thinking, what am I investing in? If I'm going to invest in a community, what am I investing in? Accountability, encouragement, motivation, and relationships. So as I mentioned in this intro, the podcast summit I attended last year, and I paid to be a part of the VIP. I was still new to the community, but people got to know me. And anytime that we meet, and I think now we're doing 2 to 3 times a week, I try, even unless I'm eating or looking crazy, I try to have my camera on. We meet via one of the applications that everyone uses, which is Zoom. And I'm thinking to myself, I need this. I need to see other people winning in business. I need to hear other people being challenged and then putting out great content, putting out reels, and then launching books, podcasts, business ideas, funnels, the works. And to hear that people are making 5 to 6 figures a month is extremely encouraging. I need to be around that kind of positive energy. And in my mind, I saw that before in the other online Chamber of Commerce that I joined. And of course, I found that on Clubhouse with the other community that I joined. I got a book out of it, which was phenomenal, and several shows. But now, the rubber meets the road, and I am excited about launching, about expanding and scaling what is the Interludes podcast and beyond. And I love community. I think everyone should invest in community. And most importantly, I am really loving that we have a book club. That is so exciting to me. I think, in fact, I know over the last year, I have read more books in the last year than I have read in my entire lifetime. Even college, because, you were forced to read books in college. But I encourage anyone that is seeking out a community, and it's not necessarily the one that I'm a part of, but if you need to be a part of a community to motivate, to keep you accountable, to inspire, and then on top of all of that, push you to be your best self in business or in life. I'm thinking about people that love knitting. Be a part of that community. You have that same interest. The folks that love their dogs. I got a good friend of mine who loves, she's down to 4 dogs now. The people that love to do journaling or stamp collecting. There are communities for all of these types of folks. And for myself, being a part of a community that's not only the business owners that are achieving and doing great in insurance and gun control and accountability in sales, all of those things, you can learn a lot. And it's good to be able to have people that's guiding you through, especially if you are someone who is doing the business as a solopreneur. And no one can do business wonderfully well by yourself. You need people, you need community. And that's biblical, right? Exactly. I'm going to go into a little bit more details about exactly why it's important to stay and be a part of a community, especially when you are building your business, when you are writing or doing something great in either artificial intelligence or writing a book. And definitely if you are in the lane of podcasting. We'll be right back. Hey everyone, it's Val the Voice. We interrupt this wonderful episode to ask a question. Are you subscribed and liking this particular episode? Well, we want to make sure that you are following us on Spotify, Apple, or wherever you listen to your podcasts. And of course, subscribe to the YouTube channel because we want to continue to give you great content just like this. All right, I'm so sorry. Let's get back to the episode right now. Welcome back. I have to tell you about the podcast summit. Man, I had a blast. And going to this event in Atlanta, I learned a lot. Like I did last year, but this year, I like that it's technically 3 days. You arrive on a Wednesday, and people who are the members of the connected community to the podcast summit, they get an opportunity to be a part of, they call it the cookout, which is always funny. There, if you're registered, you can get your swag bag and some other things. But the fun thing is that people get a chance to talk, and you're able to meet the people that you've seen online in a box for however long and talk to them up close and personal, either about their platform, what business ideas they have brewing, or just to hug and love on one another it was like a business family reunion or something, which was funny. And of course they had a dance contest. I didn't do too much dancing because the way these knees are set up, we gotta slow down. However, I noticed I had a blast. And what was weird to me is that a lot of people called out, "Hey, it's Val the Voice." And I'm like, oh, me? How hilarious. Why am I shrinking at the sound of my name? I'm like, no, you do know me. Vast majority of the time that we have our online meetings, 80% or 90% of the time, I am fighting to have my camera on. Unless three things are happening. I look crazy, I'm eating, or I got something looking, my hair is all over my head. That is when my camera is off. But the vast majority of the time I fight to keep my appearance looking normal, and then my camera on, which is really wonderful. And then also engaging in the chat. A lot of people launch their webinars, their ideas. I know I've done that. I've done a couple of webinars, and a lot of people attend, and they'll give me the heads up. Val, these were some great points you covered, but there were some other things that you left out. And then, of course, coming back to Dave and Donnie, I like to say D&D, and for them kind of emphasizing what you should be applying to your business and what you should be doing content-wise. What are you doing? How are you creating content? And so it's been very interesting, especially over this last year, to see this transition, and then to see there's a prayer call. That's something I wasn't used to. And to hear Donnie kind of say, the reason why I started this 15-minute call was to encourage myself during a very depressing and dark time in her life. For myself, that was the very beginning of the pandemic and me dealing with the loss of my mom. And of course, I want to give a personal shout out to my roommate this year. I didn't have one last year. Now I want to make sure I say both words and both names. Sparkle Bailey, the feminine fairy. We had a great time as roommates. And the great thing is that we had been communicating, and, she's busy, a married mom. And myself, I've been busy, but she was looking forward to connecting and bonding. And of course, what I love is that months in advance, when I said I'm getting my hotel room, she reached out to me and said, you know what, if you don't mind, let's do the room together. And with the cost of everything going up, gas, hotels, whatever, it felt wonderful to go ahead and split that bill down the middle. And when you're planning to attend any type of events, especially ones that are outside of a community or inside of the community, but you're doing it in person, connect with those individuals, especially outside of the community, and just see how you guys can vibe. It's been several people that I've gotten their numbers. We don't call and talk to each other often because we're working on our business. But the fun thing about it all is that the podcast summit was enhanced by me seeing people in person this was my first time meeting them in person and seeing them outside of the box, either the picture or the frame of themselves. And to see that, my goodness, these people are alive and in breathing and in living color is phenomenal. And that's why I believe, especially if you are a solopreneur, that you should invest in a community. I'm going to continue to show some clips and definitely show some wonderful photos of some more that happened at the podcast summit when we come right back. Hey everyone, this is Val the Voice Johnson, and I am in Atlanta at the podcast summit, and I'm kind of walking around. This is called the Creators Lounge. And I didn't get a chance to come in here because I was so focused on being in a couple of places. And I'm like, oh my goodness. There's a lot of people that help people launch their podcasts. Here we go. Out of the system. Looks like Forge Your Podcast Launch System. So that's cool. And then here's another one. Make More Sales Show. That's cool. Nice 2-seat setup. They have a Roadcaster. I don't know if that. These are setups for in-person podcasting, and that's something I have not of. And this is telling me I need to graduate to this. And then, of course, over here is the Podcast Summit box. It's a couple of them hanging out. And so this is real cool. So this is just one of the rooms that was a part of the summit, and a lot of stuff is still set up, which is wonderful, which means they'll be back tomorrow. It is usually only 2 days, and I really love coming here to Atlanta and just getting the vibe from other podcasters, because it's a major thing when you are able to use your voice to brand your business or product. This is Alicia Little. She taught earlier, and this is her complete setup. She introduced the AI agents that she had. She had this gentleman actually talking right here. I think his name is Maximus. Yeah. Finley, Brandy. I think the other ones had some other thing. And of course, they have a Rodecaster and then 2 mics. 2-seat setup, very simple. And so the goal is to get that going. And like I said, one of the reasons why I'm taking and putting the podcast, Talk on Tuesdays, on hold is to study out in-person podcasting, and then of course to eventually have a great setup like this. I've been inspired. It's been fun. All right. Peace. Yeah. Hey everyone, I'm Val the Voice Johnson, and I want to let you know that I created an entertainment podcast called Interludes Extra Presents Talk on Tuesdays back in 2021. This summer, myself and Coach Tony, we're on hiatus, but we're coming back strong with a wonderful interview with one of Chicago house music's architects and founders. His name is Vince Lawrence. Coach Tony and Vince knew each other back in the day, so he gets a chance to sit down and talk with Vince about his journey in music and, of course, an upcoming film called Move Your Body that hits theaters in November of 2026. So join us live in the chat on Tuesday, September 15th, 2026, when Interludes Extra Presents Talk on Tuesday comes back strong with myself and Coach Tony. You don't want to miss it. Hey, the summer is here. Are you guys getting out? I'm encouraging everybody to go to that concert, outdoors that is, that festival, or do a nice long jog and or ride your bike. Get out and enjoy the summertime. And while you're out, make sure to take the Interludes podcast along with you. We stream on Apple, Spotify, or wherever you stream your podcasts. We want to personally thank you for being a part of the Interludes family. Hey everyone, you know what? I want to talk to you about the Podcast Summit and my volunteering experience. I love me good Brandon. I know if you guys can see this. And for the folks that are listening, I'm showing my volunteer Podcast Summit badge. And then also the wristband that everyone got that volunteered. It was in blue. That's nice. And then of course, because I paid for VIP access. And as a volunteer, I was an usher. That's what it was. And what was interesting is that people were holding seats, saving seats, rushing to the front of the stage. And you had to kind of make sure that the people that were going toward the front had either platinum, VIP, or general admission, and you would direct them in other directions. What was fun about being a volunteer usher, especially in the first couple of hours of the opening of the conference, is that I had my cell phone on me, so during the time that I believe Donnie Wiggins was on stage and a few other people came on stage, I was able to take notes. I was also able to secure a great spot for myself and my roommate toward the front. I didn't expect to do that. However, when I mentioned that developing the relationships long before the conference, I developed a great one-on-one conference relationship with his name is Jay Starr. He's married to the host, Nella. And he was one of the main people that was kind of running things regarding being an usher on the main floor of the conference. And just to be able to ask for his direction and to say, okay, where should I be? It was great. Now, there were other people that were over everything, but I want to say to see this be as organized as it was, for folks to know exactly where to go, and I'm referring to the guests that came in to speak. You had a motivational speaker and friend to David Shands, Eric Thomas, there speaking. I saw him on the elevator. That was funny. And then I saw Omar, who is a part of the department. I don't want to mispronounce his last name. He did a wonderful closing talk about developing great long-form content for YouTube. I love what he talks about. And Words Taylor, there was a lot of folks that came on stage and pretty much shared their experience in either building content or how wealthy they became by being consistent in developing their content for their audience. And you're not going to appeal to everyone. Remember this gentleman, I think his name is CJ. He's the person that's worked with E.T., Eric Thomas, for years. And he pretty much said, no one cares about your content. I think I dropped my volunteer badge when I heard that. But what was great is in taking the notes and writing down all of the advice and tips that many folks from the stage were giving, you knew that you could walk away with a solid plan. And one of our members of the community, Cynthia Respite, went ahead and said, let's use some AI. Let's take the pictures that you've taken at this conference, especially if you've been taking pictures of some of the slides that some of the great presenters put before us, put it together in AI, use Notebook LM, and gather your plans for what you're going to do afterwards. And one of the main plans that I had was recording this podcast to let you guys know about the Podcast Summit. And the great thing about working with someone who knows and loves being an entrepreneur, and then who is really transparent about the struggles of scaling and actually putting together such a robust conference like a Podcast Summit. Dave talked to us months ago, and people recommended you should promote the following year podcast at the conference. Give the prices, make sure that they're reduced, and encourage people to purchase, and give a time frame between June and July. Do you know he did that toward the end of the conference? And of course, introducing his family. And I said, you know what? That's wonderful. We need to be people that are accountable, but then also trainable. And for someone who got trained under many great businessmen, including, who is this? Myron Golden. There's like a litany of folks that Dave has been trained by. But for us as a community to tell him or recommend this, and for him to follow through and do that, that was wonderful. And I made sure that I told him that I had a great experience in volunteering, and I probably will do it again next year. But being a part of a community is important for every podcaster. And as I wrap things up, I'm going to let you guys know a couple of things you should be doing And then, of course, the community I'm starting. We'll be right back. Hey everyone, I'm Val the Voice Johnson, and I want to let you know that I created an entertainment podcast called Interludes Extra Presents Talk on Tuesdays back in 2021. This summer, myself and Coach Tony, we're on hiatus, but we're coming back strong with a wonderful interview with one of Chicago house music's architects and founders. His name is Vince Lawrence. Coach Tony and Vince knew each other back in the day, so he gets a chance to sit down and talk with Vince about his journey in music and, of course, an upcoming film called Move Your Body that hits theaters in November of 2026. So join us live in the chat on Tuesday, September 15th, 2026, when Interludes Extra Presents Talk on Tuesday comes back strong with myself and Coach Tony. You don't want to miss it. All right, we're back. And Tony, I'm going to tell him how ironic. My co-host is Coach Tony, and this is Tony, who is a coach.
I am a coach. So I just want to shout out Val the Voice for always bringing the energy and always being passionate about what she believes in. And if you don't have a book, A DJ Saved My Life, you need to get that book. I already know, I haven't read it yet, but I already know because I know her and I know her character and I know what she's about. And she's about uplifting and serving. And I always say to lead is to serve, and she is a servant.
Thank you, Tony. Appreciate you, family. Oh, Lord. And cut. Oh. Welcome back. Wow. I hope you guys enjoyed this episode of the Interludes podcast and about the importance of community. I have really enjoyed getting to know the community that I'm a part of, a couple of the communities I'm a part of. And for you, professionally, you can grow with your communities locally with either your Chamber of Commerce or your community. You could do that and grow a lot as a businessman and entrepreneur. For myself, I decided it's time to start my own community called the Lighthouse Lab. That is on the school platform, and I'm going to be doing co-working sessions and kicking off the whole celebration of doing podcast production 101. That gets kicked off at the very beginning of August. Saturday, August 1st is our first class. I like to think of it that way because it's back to school time anyway. And I'll be going over how you can do live broadcasts via StreamYard or a few other ways. I know a lot of folks love to go live, either TikTok or Instagram, and go right to their situations, their community online. However, if you're a little bit more of a traditionalist like myself, with starting your podcast, you might want to produce it professionally. Of course, I'm definitely going to be giving you guys some tips on how to do that. Join us on Saturday, August 1st at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, and then also that's at 9 a.m. Central. Nice and early, just before your day gets really jumping and going on a Saturday. So I am excited. I'll put more information about joining the Lighthouse Lab in the description of this particular video. And then, of course, if you enjoyed some of my tips about the podcast summit or some of the things that I shared, just let me know in the comments, because that's where I'm going to be fishing things out. But for myself, I'm Val the Voice Johnson, and this is the Interludes podcast. The Interludes podcast.
Original concept by Valerie Johnson.
Sports segments for Talk on Tuesdays, produced by Coach Tony Thompson.
Original intro and outro music produced by Kendall Nesbitt.
The Interludes podcast, a pure Lighthouse production. This episode is brought to you by our brand new website, PureLighthouseMedia.com, the official home of A DJ Saved My Life, where the ABCs of podcasting meet personal transformation. And now available in print. Order your signed copy today and discover how finding your voice can change your life. Are you a business or entrepreneur looking to promote your work through a dynamic podcasting platform? Partner with us through sponsorship and marketing opportunities. Your message belongs in front of our audience. Got that $1 million podcast idea, but don't know where to start? Whether you need a coach, a guide, or a full-on producer, I'm here to walk you through the process and bring your podcast vision to life. Visit PureLighthouseMedia.com today to get your book, book your consultation, or connect with us about sponsorship. Let's grow together.